Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Okay, you citizens of the world, welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of June 5th. We are recording it a couple days early, but a couple days after the very long into the night Illinois General Assembly down in Springfield, where they passed a $56 billion budget for the fiscal year 2027, but a lot of stuff is left on the table. So we've got Kelly Cassidy here. She comes on pretty regularly. She's the state rep for the 14th district. Yay. And we're glad to have you, Kelly. Have you recovered from a melted brain being up all night that night?
I am too old for this shit, man. Yeah, you know, all-nighters are, they hit a little different in your late 50s, man. You know,
wait till you're in your 80s.
Exactly. And, you know, I think about that and think about how miserable it was for us as legislators, but our staff actually pulled a double overnighter, because they had pulled an all-nighter getting the budget drafted the day before. So the legislative staff really, they were abused, frankly. You know, there's a reason sleep deprivation is prohibited under the Geneva Convention. Like, this is not okay.
Why couldn't they extend it for a few more days? Why does it have to end?
So, frankly, they could. They chose not to.
Okay.
You know, the rule that requires us to get a supermajority for an immediate effective date kicks in at midnight. So, you know, midnight on May 31st, you're already past the constitutional boundary. You already need a supermajority. We already had a supermajority, right? We could have done that in the morning. We could have, you know, there's a million different ways it could have been done. You know, there's some speculation that there was concern that people wouldn't come back if we let them go home, which, you know, that's certainly a message to your constituents about how much you value the job. So, you know, I don't know, but what's wild is, you know, this has happened the last few years, and people are starting to think it's normal, and it's not. This is not how we used to end session. You know, we'd get done maybe sometimes around midnight, and there would be a lovely party somewhere where you could go unwind and you know, congratulate each other or commiserate with each other. And, you know, you might be up till 5 that way, but you certainly weren't on the House floor until 5.
Right. So the big issue in the budget was the Bear Stadium, I think. Well, the big issue for a lot of people who were talking about it. Obviously, there's many important issues that were covered. But what was the mood on the floor and the discussion around that?
So the House passed the original mega projects bill, I think, like 2-3 weeks ago. Time is very much fluid in my brain right now. But, you know, we sent it over to the Senate quite a while ago. And, you know, there were ongoing talks. I was a no from the start. You know, my general, you know, summary of the entire Bears drama is they can build wherever the hell they want with their own goddamn money. Period.
Period.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. So the original bill was not just for the Bears. It would apply more broadly. It created a couple of different kinds of other bonding programs that would allow, you know, projects in other parts of the state. And it had, the only thing I liked in the big bill was a package of incentives and relief for downtown Springfield businesses that have really never recovered from the pandemic. Downtown Springfield is my home away from home. And what I have always said, every time we've been called down to take a vote on a corporate bailout, you know, the day that we're bailing out women and children first, or, you know, Anti-Prima or our public house, is the day that you can talk to me about corporate tax incentives. And in fact, that's what they want to do in Springfield, and it's desperately needed. So that went by the wayside. What the Senate sent back to us was a kind of a whole new approach that would not address any of the concerns that we have. It wouldn't be any state money, but it would still have, you know, if you're making a deal to pay less, the outcome of that is less money in the coffers, period. Right? Like, it doesn't matter how much lipstick you put on the pig, right? It's still a giveaway, and it's still taking money out of programs that matter to me.
Do you have any predictions on what will happen to the Bears and what they're going to decide? I know the Hammond mayor is a Democrat and Northern Indiana is Democrats. We should probably annex that part of Indiana.
They might welcome it. I don't know. I can't predict what they're going to do. I don't see the Indiana legislature actually coming through with the handouts that they talked about. This is a deep red state that doesn't believe in taxing anybody for anything. I can't imagine that they're gonna come up with the votes for that. Their legislature is pretty fractured right now, as evidenced by the redistricting vote and the primary losses there. So they're no more functional than we are right now. So I don't see that as a real option. And then you add on the environmental issues with that site. It doesn't seem real.
Okay, another big issue was conversations around House Bill 1438 on THC. Mm-hmm. And, I think there was a lot of discussion, but the idea was to make Illinois the first state to legalize adult use of cannabis through the legislature.
Well, so we did that. We were the first state to legislatively do that back in 2019. And this bill that was being discussed this year was, one of several over the last several years that sought to do some cleanups in the program, make some changes on behalf of social equity licensees to make those businesses more viable. And, over the last couple of years, the big sticking point in all of these discussions has been the hemp-based businesses that have popped up all over that are, selling unregulated, untested, no age restrictions. We've seen stories of kids getting sick in schools and things like that. So an effort to crack down on that has fizzled year on year on year. And this year, I think there was a sense that there was an opportunity to address these issues because of the federal farm bill that is essentially going to outlaw intoxicating hemp products. And the backstory on that is there's a little junior chemistry you can do to what is legally hemp, which is just 0.3% THC. You can do a little chemical magic, and you can increase the THC content. And that's also a questionable practice, right? We don't know what they're using to do that, all that kind of stuff, because of this lack of testing. So the effort to close these businesses, to get them into a regulated marketplace has been ongoing, and lots of resistance. There was a belief that because of the federal government's shift, that this would be a little bit easier. But concerns around access, frankly, to the THC beverages, like that's become such a thing. Regardless of the fact that the feds are going to say no, it collapsed under its own weight again. And I think a backstory of that is really there's one multi-state operator cannabis company that will do anything to maintain their monopoly in the medical marijuana space, medical cannabis space. And GTI, I think, definitely was stirring the pot and playing games to kill it, as they have in years past.
Kelly Cassidy, we're going to run out of time, but we always do. We always have a few more minutes, and I got two things. First, what about housing? And I think BUILD is what the acronym is. What about that? And then I got one final one for you going out.
Okay, real quick on the BUILD package. It was a bold effort by the governor to really change the way we look at housing development in the state. Traditionally, local governments have really all the power with regard to making those kinds of decisions. There was a desire to look at the way zoning is used to keep people out and to make more affordable housing available. The pushback from local governments was immense. They like their power. I think that we will get somewhere. It's one of those conversations that's going to take some time.
Okay, so going out, how about what's still on the table that you look forward to addressing next time you go back to Springfield?
Progressive revenue. This budget is disappointing. It is at best a flat budget. There are still things that got cut that I wish hadn't. I am pleased that we did put the digital ad tax in because it's going to take some years of litigation before we can count on that revenue. So it's time to start that work now. But for example, we didn't decouple from all of the tax breaks in HR1. The governor really wanted to keep some of those tax breaks on the table so that he could use them as incentives, and that pissed a lot of us off. Frankly, there are 5 massive tax changes, tax breaks in HR1, and we only decoupled from one of them, and that is not what a progressive state should be doing.
And we are a blue progressive state. And
exactly.
Don't forget that. Okay, Kelly Cassidy, you're the best. I'm glad you're my state rep, and Euan's too.
I was just at our public in Jarvis Square early this week, enjoying a meal out there in the evening. So I'm so glad to be home. I can't wait to get out to Jarvis Square, to get out to Morse, to get to Gethsemane and buy some pretty flowers, all of the things.
Yeah. Well, if it's sunny on Sunday, you know where you'll find me.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Everybody else.